If you have around $900 to spend and you want to buy a new gaming PC build that's going to allow you to play any game that you want at 1440p and 1080p resolution, possibly even 4K depending on the game, then this is going to be the perfect video for you because I will show you the best 1440p ultra settings $900 gaming system that will be able to achieve high FPS, no FPS drops or just any lag, and the link to this exact same system and every alternative that I will mention will be down below in the video description. My name is Valentino. With that being said, let's start. So first I will start by talking about the CPU. For the CPU we have the Ryzen 5 7600. This Ryzen 5 processor is ideal for this type of budget and it will allow you to play high CPU demanding games at 360 plus FPS on average when it comes to competitive settings, and other games like Fortnite at 240 plus, possibly even 360 plus depending on the area of the map. So to be honest, this CPU in my opinion is the best price to performance CPU out there. This CPU is going to be able to be paired with any graphics card in the entire market. And then you get a B650 Pro RS motherboard that's going to be ideal for this Ryzen 5 processor and also for any other CPU from the AM5 platform down the line. Now the CPU cooler for the Ryzen 5 7600 is the stock one from AMD. It's free and it's going to be more than enough for this Ryzen 5. Now, if you want to go for an aftermarket CPU cooler, you are looking to spend an extra $20, which is actually a good purchase if you want to do it, and I will leave the alternative CPU cooler down in the description. In terms of memory, you get 32 gigs of DDR5 memory, 6000 MHz CL30 timings. Now, if you're a beginner, you probably don't understand these numbers, but basically this is the sweet spot for gaming. Having 32 gigs of RAM will allow you to play any game that you want, and also if you want to do streaming. If you're into streaming, content creation, productivity work, 32 gigs of RAM is a huge advantage over 16 gigs of RAM, which used to be the standard for gaming. Then you get a 1TB SSD, which is enough for most people, and if you ever need more, you can upgrade it down the line because you have more than one M.2 slot inside of your motherboard. Then for the graphics card, this is the most important component when it comes to your gaming performance. I picked the AMD RX 6800. This is one of the best price to performance GPUs out there when it comes to 1440p resolution. You can use it for 1080p and possibly 4K as well. For now, let's focus at 1440p resolution, because at this resolution, you can play any game that you want on ultra settings and you will be able to have a very smooth level of performance. In fact, on a tech spot review on the most high demanding games out there, well, on a 12 game average, the 6800 was able to average 84 FPS, which is a very high number considering the type of games that are being tested. And if you want to turn on FSR, which is the upscaler from AMD, then the number is going to go up to 100 to 110 plus FPS depending on the game that you are playing and depending on the exact setting. Honestly, insane level of performance for 1440p. And then at 1080p on the same test in high demanding titles, you can expect 115 FPS on average, so insane level of performance for 1080p as well. The RX 6800 has 16 gigs of RAM, which is going to be enough even for 4K resolution. However, at 4K in the most high demanding titles, I do recommend you turning on FSR, because if you play with no FSR on, then you can expect around 50 FPS on average when it comes to the most high demanding titles on high to ultra settings. But if you turn on FSR, you can expect closer to 65 all the way up to 80 plus FPS depending on the game and depending on the settings once again. And with FSR on, this is a very smooth level of performance. But anyway, the RX 6800 is perfect for this system because it will allow you to play any game that you want at 1440p and 1080p, and again, possibly 4K, depending on the game and depending on the settings that you want to play. Now for the case, I went with the DIY PC ARGB Q3 gaming case. This one has plenty of airflow. It comes with pre-installed fans. You do not have to install the fans yourself. So this one is the perfect pick in my opinion, because in terms of price, it's pretty decent, going for just $53. And then for the power supply, which is quite important as well, I went with a 650 watt power supply, which is going to be enough for this system, and it's from Thermaltake. which is a well-known brand. Now, the total price for this system when I'm recording this video is $948, and remember that maybe when you're watching this, the price might be higher or lower depending on the time, so I do recommend you checking the latest pricing and availability from the links down in the description. Now, if you want to get about the same level of performance and you want to spend less, if you are open to buying from AliExpress, which is a marketplace from China, then you can get the Ryzen 5 7500F CPU, which is basically the same as the Ryzen 5 7600 in terms of gaming performance, and it's going for $133, so it's quite cheaper. This CPU does not come with the stock cooler, which is free from AMD, so if you buy that one, which is about $7, then the total price for this entire system is going to be $913, so much closer to $900, and you will be getting about the same level of gaming performance because, as I said before, the Ryzen 5 7500F is basically the same as the 7600. If you are not willing to buy from AliExpress, then you are looking to downgrade the motherboard to the MSI Pro B650M, which is the motherboard that I have inside of this system, but you have a limited CPU upgradability because of the VRMs, which means that, let's say down the line you want to upgrade to a Ryzen 9 7900X, well, this is not going to be possible because you are going to be thermal throttling your CPU and hurting it long term. So for that not to happen and for you to get the best performance even with the highest end CPUs, I recommend you going for the other one. But if you're not going to be upgrading to a Ryzen 9 7900X or any CPU that's quite beefy, then this motherboard is going to be completely fine. However, it's up to you to decide whether spending those extra $20 are going to be worth it for you to have the option to eventually upgrade more beefy CPUs on the line. Now, the total price for this system when I'm recording this video with the downgraded motherboard is $923, and I do not recommend you going anything lower than this, because if you go with anything lower than this, you are going to be sacrificing performance. But anyway, if you have a lower budget and you are willing to play at 1080p or maybe 1440p, just slightly worse performance, or maybe you have a higher budget and you want to play at 4K or 1440p higher FPS, then I do recommend you watching my video on the best gaming PC builds of the month for 1080p, 1440p and 4K. You will find that video in the top right of the screen. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.